Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Pele Yoetz. We're on the letter Bet, and today we're talking about the son. And it says that a son will honor his father and mother, as we have already wrote, and we'll write more about this. However, now I have come to include everything in a brief form, and there is no reiteration with some novelty. And it says, hence, there is a mandate for the father to treat his son according to his years, his character, and his intelligence at a given time. So if your son is a child, you have to treat him as a child. When he starts to get older in age, 10 years old, and he starts to get a little bit of zechus, you have to treat him according, and so on and so forth. So it says, sometimes harshly and other times softly. So, that potch that worked as a young child doesn't work when they get older, and sometimes words of tough musar have to be given. And it says that it is the father's responsibility to weigh his words with care in such a fashion that the son will respond positively and not to go astray. So this is a big problem. We talked about this in the earlier chapters for sure. Especially if you're someone who's struggling with not having been brought up with Devorah Esther. This is a challenge for all of us. But the point of the musar is not to put the child down. The point of the musar is to kind of build them up, to kind of get them to reflect on their actions. And again, this takes great study and care. And if you are deficient in this area, as many people are in this generation, then it's worthwhile to get a Rav to teach you, especially one that specializes in Shalom Bayit. So it says, this requires great understanding and additional patience so as to behave in a moderation in accord with the immediate need. So it says, a person must not withhold from a child a moral chastisement, nor must he chastise excessively. A person should not speak briefly when he needs to speak at length, nor should be verbose when he ought to be concise. The father is also responsible to teach his son Torah and to marry him off when he is at the proper age, as we wrote in its place. And it's the responsibility of the son to respect and fear his father. If the father is sometimes angry with him and strikes or curses him for no reason other than some heartache he has due to an unrelated incident, or because his character or lack of intelligence, he pours upon him his anger, then the mind of the son needs to forbear everything for the sake of the honor of the Creator's command. This is very difficult. If you are someone who's listening to this and you are on the receiving end of a parent who does not know the Devorah Esther, who is very much deficient in this area, this is very difficult. I myself suffered with this kind of upbringing, and it is one of the greatest. Don't you find it's one of the greatest mitzvot to keep? How do you honor your father and your mother when they are so detrimental to your well-being? But there is ways to do this, and it does benefit you to not only to look into the Torah as to why this is happening, but also to get a Rav on your side to help you kind of guide you through these difficult times in the way that benefits you greatly. So it says the son should not oppose him, speak housely to him, or embarrass him. Has v'shalom. Rather, he must bend his head like a reed and bear the yoke, and he will not be diminished in any way. Behold, our sages said in Kedushin 31a, reported about Dama ben Natina, that even though he was a non-Jew whose mother was insane and bound him in front of Roman senators and threw his wallet into the sea, he did not humiliate her. I mean, this is a great example. The fact that they're even using a goy, this is a great example here of a just honoring your father and your mother. It says, as such, if one's parents are of sound mind, the son must always consider that his parents are in the right in everything they do to him, and it appears in his eyes that they have acted out of line. It is because of his own deficiency. So sometimes this also is the case. If you have parents, they're sound of mind. And sometimes I think when we're getting this musar, we find that we're justified, but sometimes we will learn, and as we have been learning, sometimes we think that our way is right and it's not. So this could also be the case too. It says this unfortunate habit of children that they always try to justify themselves in everything they do, which is very true. I mean, I don't think this is just something that is limited to children. I think that this is a trait that we tend to keep with us for a very long time. So it says, it seems to the children as if their parents transfer blame whenever they admonish him. However, the son who possesses intelligence and whose portion is Yirat Shamayim will not rationalize nor will his heart think so. Rather, he will assume that his parents are absolutely in the right, and if something is missing, it's from him. And he will make his ear like a hopper to accept reproof. And it says, he will not deviate from whatever they tell him, not from the right or to the left, even if it appears to him that they say the right is the left. It is also mitzvah for a son to generate zechus for his parents. He should strive with all his strength and resources to send his father and mother to the land of Israel. He must honor them in their death and do everything necessary to provide them proper internment. So this is a very big responsibility for the son. Not only to honor his parents in this world and the life of Abba, and that in their retirement that he should help them to make Aliyah to Eretz Israel, and that he should remember them also by saying Kaddish, and when they have departed. Now again, children are automatically connected. Everything they do, whether they're speaking Torah, spreading Torah, whatever they're doing, goes to the zechus, also to their parents, and vice versa. If they're Chas v'Shalom not doing what they're supposed to be doing, this is also, it's a great embarrassment to them in Shemaim. So something to think about. It says, he must provide zechus for their souls all the days of life. They are just, these are just the beginnings of the ways of uprightness that the parent and children must keep for the sake of the honor of the King of Honor. So that's the entire chapter. Again, very difficult, this goes back to that, the one I talked about with husbands and wives, when we're talking about a wife that has fallen into the hands of a Rasha. These things, always in hindsight, I find that my experience, and I can only speak to my experience, that in hindsight, through knowing, getting to know the words of Torah, to get to know the words of the sages, you kind of have a better understanding of why you went through what you went through. And it doesn't, at this stage of the game, it doesn't feel to me the way it did in the beginning. When you start to look at Olam Haba and what it takes to get it, it almost seems like that one day I'm really, really going to be happy. That's not to say that I thought this was such a great thing when I'm going through it, or to say this is great, keep going through it. Chas v'Shalom, I'm not saying that either. But I'm saying that this really does take a considerable amount of effort and time. You have to really toil in this area of Torah in order that you can come out, that you're taking this negative and you can turn it into a positive. And in that, you will help so many people. And it really, I think, in the helping of so many people, I think that is the greatest therapy that can come to you. That it's really, I think it's almost like, that statement, that out of Paro's own house also came the redemption. This is the same thing, that out of your own pain can come that redemption. The source of bitterness can then now become the source of sweetness. And this is a concept pretty well known in the Torah. And I hope that we will all be zochet to really understand this to its full capacity. And that's it for today. And I hope we'll all be together again soon. B'ezrat Hashem.